Hey everyone, welcome back to I Heart Movies. My name is Jonathan North, and this time my friend Rachel Wagner is back, and we're talking all about the most recent 3 shorts from Pixar in their Disney Plus series, SparkShorts. We covered the first 3 shorts last year when they were previewed on YouTube, but we had to wait until the last 3 were released on Disney Plus before we could cover the rest of them. The final one dropped on January 10th, so Rachel and I finally got together to talk about the last 3 shorts, Float, Wind, and Loop. Okay, well, I guess we can start. We'll just do these in the order that they were released, like we did with the last group. Well, before we begin, I wanted to mention that Kit Bull was nominated for an Academy Award. In the last group we did, we talked about Kit Bull, and that was my favorite, I think. So I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, me too. It was really cute. So it's nice to see one of the SparkShorts recognized for sure.
Yeah. Smash and Grab, that one's great too. But Kit Bull, there was something about it. It was so different. The 2D animation, it deserves a win, I think.
I don't know. I love Hair Love so much. It's so
That's true.
cute.
That one was nominated also. Oh yeah,
So
that'll be hard. I'm glad I'm
I
not the one choosing.
I know, me too.
They were
I
both
haven't
good.
seen the other three. But yeah, I love Hair Love. I hope that it wins. But both of those are really cute. So yeah.
Okay, so well, we can start on this group. The other ones were released before Disney Plus was released. They were on YouTube for a brief window. Like they disappeared after we talked about them. I didn't realize that was going to happen, so I'm glad we talked about them when we did. But everything is available on Disney Plus now. So if you want to check out the ones we've already talked about, they're there. And these last 3 were released, and Loop was the most recent one. I think it just came out a week or 2 ago. Either way, they're all 6 out now. I think they said they're working on some more, but for now, we just got the 6. So we'll start with Float, since that was the one that came out first of these. This one, I don't think when I first started watching, I didn't really understand what was going on. And it took until I watched the behind the scenes thing before everything made perfect sense. So I'm glad that they included all those behind the scenes things with these shorts, because you get some good insight into what's going on with that. But what did you think of this one?
I really liked this one. I thought it was really sweet. I think, you can definitely understand the frustration of a parent, wanting his child to be accepted and loved, but they're special. They're different. I thought this one was much better than we'll talk about Loop coming up with a similar theme. And I don't know, I think most parents have kind of been there where they're just like, they just kind of lose it and forget. And so I thought that was pretty genuine and understandable. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, so this one, if you haven't seen it, this one's basically about this father. He has a baby who can float, and you find out when you watch the behind the scenes stuff. By the end, I think you can start to figure it out for yourself, but the floating is a metaphor for autism, because the director, Bobby Rubio, his son is on the spectrum. So he dedicated the short to his son. Like there was a message at the end thanking him for making him a better dad. Basically, this is his story, but he made it in sort of a fantastical way instead of having it just be about a kid who has autism. It's a kid who floats, and he wants his kid to fit in and not be looked at and judged by everyone, because that was the one thing that I thought was kind of weird. Like everybody was sort of looking at, and once you find out it's about like a metaphor for autism, it makes sense. But like if it's just about a kid who floats, all these adults are looking at him like they're judging this kid. It's like, this kid is floating. Why? What's to be judgmental about? But it makes more sense when you know what the short is actually about.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty obvious from the beginning that it was a metaphor. But yeah, I mean, it's people would probably be like, "Oh, that's cool," if it was in real life. But the point is that just the frustration of being a parent and and wanting to help your child and not being able to do so. Like I
Hmm.
don't think this short is really made for children. I think this is definitely made for adults.
Yeah, I would say they're all three of these seem more targeted to adults rather than children, but they're not made in such a way that kids can't watch or appreciate them.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I think it's hard because you want to protect your child, but then you also have to kind of trust them in a way,
Hmm.
and put them out there and hope for the best. There's only so much you can protect them from.
Hmm.
And so that's the sort of struggle, and you see, and he's like completely just exhausted, and so I think that's part of also why he loses it, is because he's just as most parents are,
Yeah.
completely frazzled and exhausted, and reaches his limit, but then he immediately realizes what he said was wrong, and
Mm.
he makes it right.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done. I really like that they did it sort of in a metaphorical way rather than having it be so on the nose. And like he said in the behind the scenes stuff, he basically said he did it in such a way that it could be about any child's difference, not
Yeah,
necessarily just autism.
right. I feel like that's the most sort of common, or at least in my life. I know so many people that are on the spectrum, and so I feel like that's the first thing I thought of, probably because of that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was good.
Yeah, yeah, it was. So the next one is Wind, and this one, I think this one might be my favorite of the three.
I wondered if this would be your favorite because it's a little bit weird.
Yeah, it, I really like the world that they built. This one is about a kid who's living with his grandmother. They're in sort of an underground world, and there's all these like floating rocks and just random things floating around. It's not explained what happened. Like this one and the short before it basically had no dialogue. There was one line in the other one that was used like to be like a
So
shocking
it's an
emphasis, but
underground world, huh? I was
yeah.
thinking it was the moon.
No, it's underground because you can see at one point they're looking up and through this tunnel that's where the wind is coming from. The wind is from deep underground, even farther underground than they are. The wind is blowing up this tunnel, and that's what's causing all these things to float.
Oh, because I
So
was like, why don't they need suits, space suits?
yeah, that's
I
why
was
it's
confused.
it. And I don't think it's supposed to necessarily be Earth because it's sort of fantastical, magical, but it's a fantasy. It's I don't think there's any place like this on Earth where rocks float or whatever. But
Yeah, I
anyway,
just thought, man, maybe in this world they've created the technology they don't need to have helmets in space. I don't know. But yeah, so I thought
well,
this
even
whole
if
time that I thought it was on the moon.
no,
Oops.
I couldn't figure out at first what it was until I saw this tunnel and realized that there was wind blowing up from underneath, like even further below than they were.
Oh,
But
interesting.
wherever they are, they're kind of stuck and they're trying to get out, and they're building this rocket so that they can shoot up through this tunnel past all the floating rocks and escape. So basically, they come to the point in the story where the grandmother realizes that she's not going to be able to go with them. Like this rocket can only get one of them out. So, and like I said, there's no dialogue. So basically, she's pointing out to him through visuals that she's going to do this other thing where she'll be tied behind and he can reel her in afterwards. And so he's okay with this because before he wasn't on board with the idea of leaving her behind. So everything seems to go well. He finally gets out and then he starts reeling in the rope and it's like it takes all day and he gets to the end of the rope and realizes she's just tied a basket of food on for him. So he
Yeah.
had to leave her behind. And it is a sad, kind of depressing ending.
It
But
kind of
this
made
is,
me wonder how they're getting food anyway.
I think the food was potatoes, and since they're underground, potatoes are underground. That's what I figured.
Oh, that makes sense.
So anyway, it is a sad ending, kind of depressing, but this is another one where this is a, a metaphor for something else. And in this case, when you watch the behind the scenes stuff, this whole thing was telling the story of the writer director's grandmother, and it's not him in the story, and he didn't make this like a one-to-one comparison between their stories, but his grandmother helped his father escape to America after the Korean War, and the grandmother was left behind. So this story was a metaphor for his family history. The whole thing is sort of a metaphor for immigration and parents and grandparents sacrificing for their children and grandchildren to give them a better life. And I really thought that they pulled that off really well. The metaphor was perfect. And it was sad, and I wish that it had a happier ending, but I understand why it couldn't.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm seeing that. I'm looking at something that it's particularly about the immigration and the sacrifice that many parents make to get their children immigrated to the United States.
Hmm.
So that that's interesting. I did not think of that. I must admit on this one. Yeah, this one was a little. I don't know. I guess no. This one was my second favorite of the three. Um, because I was a little bit unclear about what the heck was going on, but that makes sense now that I read. I should have read more into it, but yeah, it was beautifully animated. I really enjoyed
Hmm.
that. What I thought was the moon. I was like, oh, that's a pretty.
It was a
I was really off with this
fantastical
one.
world.
Yeah, and it's sweet relationship between the boy and the grandma, and I certainly can relate to that with both my grandmas having passed away last year. That was
Hmm.
definitely pretty close to home.
Yeah, so this one, normally I don't really care for things with a sad ending, but I did like this one, and it probably was my favorite, despite the sad ending, because I understood why it needed to have that ending.
Yeah, I can understand that. It was good for sure.
Okay, so the last one is Loop, and this one, I think this is, aside from Pearl, this is the only one that has like constant dialogue through the whole story. Because most of these have been
Yeah.
silent-ish. Like there's sound effects and maybe some verbal noises, but not like specifically talking, other than a line or two here and there. But this one has dialogue throughout, and I found it kind of, I don't know if ironic or maybe even appropriate, since the main character is a girl who can't talk. It's kind of they have the this be one of the few that they actually talk in this one, and the main character can't talk. But again, that's kind of appropriate for the story because it wouldn't make sense to have a nonverbal character in a story where everybody else is nonverbal either. It would You need to have people talking so you understand that she can't. So this takes place at a camp, and the main character is a girl named Renee, and she's using a phone, and I'm not specifically clear on what she needs the phone for. I know that a lot of autistic people like repeating sounds, so I think that's all the phone is doing for her. It's giving it like there's a rainbow sound pattern playing and a voice saying woof woof woof. I'm not exactly sure. I think she just likes the sound. I think that's all it is, but there could be more to it than that. But she just plays it when she gets nervous or upset. And she is paired with a kid named Marcus to take a canoe around the lake to make a loop. That's where the title comes from. And he doesn't want to go with her. He thinks she's weird, but the counselor makes him take her anyway. And I don't know how to feel about this counselor because this kid, he obviously didn't have any training in dealing with somebody who is this level of like nonverbal. She can't really communicate with him very well, and he's obviously doesn't want to go with her. And I understand the counselor wants to get him out of his comfort zone and give him some perspective, but it seems dangerous to send them out on a lake together, especially with the way things turn out
Yeah,
midway through
that's
this
how I
thing.
felt too. I didn't really like this one. I think it has really good intentions and
Yeah.
I give them a lot of props for that. But I agree with you. I felt like it kind of started to irritate me because I feel like this boy was sort of being portrayed as kind of a in a not really a villain, but in a unfavorable light when really he was put in a situation that he was not prepared for or trained for,
Hmm.
or anything like that. And this is pretty severe case of um, being on the spectrum, where she can't talk, and she was pretty. She didn't seem to want to be there either, and so when you have a young child on a boat of all things, having to deal with a person that doesn't seem to want to be on the boat either, that can't communicate, that's asking quite a lot. And I felt kind of just started to feel kind of irritated for the situation, and I don't think that a competent counselor would really do that.
Hmm.
And so I didn't really enjoy this one, I have to say, despite the good intentions.
I liked how things turned out and I liked what they were trying to do with it, but I feel like they could have handled at least the bit with the counselor and pairing them up better because
Yeah.
I mean, it does turn out okay. Like he eventually figures out that he needs to just sit with her and wait for her panic attack to run its course basically instead of trying to do things to and for her to try and make it be over. You just have to wait it out. So I liked that they had him learn from her, but it's still it doesn't seem like something. Maybe this is just me getting hung up on this one detail, but it doesn't seem like something that should be happening, like forcing somebody into the situation. Like if
Yeah,
it
I
had happened in a
agree.
survival situation, I think I would have liked the short a whole lot better. Like
Right.
these two were paired up and he's like to save her life maybe he needs to learn how to deal with her rather than an adult putting two kids together that needed supervision.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree completely. I don't think it was fair to either of the children. Like I, I didn't feel like either of them wanted to be on this boat with this experience,
Hmm.
and you have to have a certain kind of training how to help somebody who is nonverbal,
Or
and
having a panic attack, which I
having a
think is
panic
what was
attack.
happening.
Exactly. And I know people are very sensitive about language when it comes to the spectrum. So I mean, no disrespect. It's just that people, uh, especially when you're in a situation that could potentially be dangerous,
Hmm.
on a boat, kind of a thing that you do need a certain degree of training to help everybody have a pleasant experience.
Hmm. Yeah. So this one was different than the other two in that this one was not based on a personal experience, and I think it would have been better if it had been.
Yeah.
Basically, the writer director was Erica Milsom, and she wanted to tell a story about something she loved, which was canoeing, and she wanted two characters that would be very different and interesting if paired together, which is where she came to picking a teenage boy and a nonverbal autistic girl.
Hmm.
But she did go about things the right way, and like she had a group, like she brought in consultants from an autistic self-advocacy group to make sure that the story of Renee was being told in a way that would be true to life and realistic.
Mm.
So I have to give her props for that. Just like I said,
Huh.
my main issue is the counselor pairing them up with some and doing something kind of dangerous, going out on the water together. But other than that, the story I liked their intentions trying to get people to be more empathetic and learning about people who are different from them. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like what they were trying to do. There are just a couple issues with some things that happen that I feel like they could have done better, but overall, I
Yeah.
did like a lot of the story.
Yeah, I think that they definitely had the best of intentions for sure, and
Hmm.
it is beautifully animated, and I liked the character design quite a bit, so that was nice.
And I also found it interesting and, well, good that Renee was voiced by a person who was mostly nonverbal herself. They had in the behind the scenes stuff, they were showing like the recording sessions. They actually had her, she wasn't liking doing it like in a studio. It was too overwhelming for her. So they went to her house and just got to know her and then got her to do her, I don't want to say lines because they weren't exactly lines, but the
Mhm.
vocalizations. And I think that made it so much better, so much more realistic because it would have been bad if they'd had somebody like trying to pretend to be somebody who
Mm.
has this nonverbal quality to their voice. It's so much better that they actually got somebody who
Yeah,
is someone with
that's true.
that talks like that. So yeah, they did everything right. There's just some story elements that I kind of had a little issue with, but
Yeah. And maybe
overall,
part of it is you're talking about a short, so
yeah,
maybe if it
yeah,
was longer, then they'd have more time to kind of maybe flesh out what they were trying to do at the camp or what the counselor was doing or
hmm,
something like that. So maybe that's part of the reason. But I definitely agree with you. I felt that as well. That this boy is not uh, behaving badly.
hmm,
And I sort of felt like maybe he was kind of being portrayed that way. He just obviously is not equipped to deal with this situation.
yeah. You need training when you're like taking care of someone like that,
Yeah,
and he's basically put into a caretaker role that he's never been trained for.
right.
Which
Exactly. That's a good way
things,
to
if
describe
this
it.
were a real life situation, either that wouldn't happen or things could turn out very differently. So
Right. They
I'm
could
I'm glad that things turned out well in this story.
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, interesting. Three interesting shorts that definitely feel on a certain theme that they're about differences and trying to help uh, each one has sort of a parent type figure helping another person to face something different, something new, that
Hmm.
kind of a theme.
Yeah, I feel like in some way in all six of these shorts, like if you want to pick out one overall theme, I feel like empathy
Mm,
stands out as like maybe sort of something that ties them all together.
yeah, I mean, I would probably say there's a lot of parenting going on at Pixar right now.
Yeah, that's true.
A
A
lot of
lot of
people
these are,
raising kids. So
yeah, a lot of these are in some way taking care of someone else, so
yeah,
parenting fits in there as well.
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's this group. The six Spark Shorts. I'm hoping that they come out with some more soon. I hope it doesn't take too long. I really
Hmm.
enjoyed that they're doing these things a bit different than they normally do,
Me
having
too.
things be a little bit deeper than they were with, like, I mean, I like the silly theatrical shorts too, but I like that they're branching out a little bit more in these Spark Shorts, telling different kinds of stories.
Me too. I've always loved the Pixar shorts, but
Hmm.
it's nice, and they're getting a lot of female directors too
Yeah.
for these shorts, which is nice. They've had three of the six so far have been directed by women,
Hmm.
so that's cool.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where they go in the future. I'm also going to be interested to see what they do with the Disney Shorts program. I can't remember what that's called, but I know that there are some Disney Shorts coming to Disney Plus as well. So we might have to do another episode when those come out to talk about what they're doing on the Disney side with the shorts.
Yeah, that'll be really cool. I wonder if they are going to. I wonder if we're going to get a short in front of Onward, or if they're going to keep these to
Hmm.
Disney Plus.
I don't know. I hope that they don't go. like get rid of the theatrical ones. I really enjoy having an extra little something in front of the movies.
Yeah.
I guess I wouldn't mind if they did the SparkShorts in front of them, but I like having a brand new short that I've never seen before when I go to a new Pixar film. So hopefully that continues.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see.
Okay, well, I guess that's all for today. Do you want to let people know where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, everywhere, on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. We have a lot of fun, cover animation each month in a Talking Disney series that we do, and then also an obscure animation series. So we have a lot of fun.
Okay, and I'll have links to all that below. Okay, well, we will have to do this again sometime.
Yes.
We'll see you then.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thanks again to Rachel for joining me for this episode. If you'd like more from us and you're a Doctor Who fan, make sure to head over to her channel because every other week we're talking about the newest episodes of Doctor Who as they air. One of the most shocking, game-changing episodes aired this week, and we're going to be talking all about it in the next episode, so if you're a Doctor Who fan, you're not going to want to miss it. The Disney Shorts series that Rachel and I were talking about in this episode is actually out now. We recorded this episode toward the beginning of the month, right after Loop was released, and the new series, which is called Short Circuit, was released just last week. We both love talking about animated shorts, so we'll definitely try to cover those in the future. In the meantime, Sarah and I will be back next time to kick off our brand new series talking about different versions of Frances Hodgson Burnett's Secret Garden. In the first episode, we'll be talking about the 1949 version starring Margaret O'Brien. We're really excited to get started on this new series, so we'll see you next time on iHeart Movies. Thanks for listening.